is the Night Owls Disc Golf Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm JP.
And I'm Ben. And I'm back.
And we back. Yeah, you are back. Was that 2 weeks or just 2 weeks, Ben? 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, he had an interview.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. I mean, he was in spirit.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys enjoyed the interview. I had a great time talking to Garrett. It was a good time.
I did. I enjoyed, and he did respond back to the video and said it was just tea. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he said wink, wink, but I'm putting the wink, wink in there. So
now here's a hot take. I do not enjoy Southern sweet tea. Just not my jam. I don't know if that was like sweet tea that he was probably rocking in his cup down there, if that's what it was, but not my jam. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but not for me.
Shane's a big fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's okay to be wrong. I mean, not everybody.
Well, I don't putt with judges. I don't, there's just a lot of things that I'll just never be right about. So I guess we'll just keep this going on the rolling tally of things that I'm just wrong.
The strikes are piling up. Piling up. Yeah. So when I moved here, fun fact, I was really disappointed that you could not find sweet tea. When I moved here 23 years ago, you would go to, they'd be, hey, I'd love some sweet tea. Well, we have raspberry iced tea. Don't toy with my emotions. I want sweet tea. Raspberry iced tea is not sweet tea. And then, we got sweeteners, and I'm like, oh my goodness. All right, fine, Diet Coke or water, or Pepsi, or whatever it is. But yeah, it was hard for me. It was emotionally a rough 7 or 8 years until sweet tea started to catch the main crowd. And thank goodness for, was it Lipton that does that? The Pure Leaf, Lipton Pure Leaf, the square bottles.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
I know that quite well. I know that product.
That was the first sweet tea that came. I mean, obviously,
Snapple.
Why can't I do? No, Snapple wasn't Snapple.
Well, Snapple does a sweet tea.
Arizona. Yeah, they do one, but Arizona was the one in the big white can. But that's kind of garbage as it is.
That's not 99 cents anymore.
No, I know. I always felt like I was cheating when that happened. So that's a hot start. So what else you got, JP? You didn't say much.
I don't think I've ever really drank it, so I can't say anything.
So you don't drink sweet tea or soda?
Nope.
You are so boring.
How do you feel about Arnold Palmer?
I've had a few. I'm a fan.
Okay.
What do they call an Arnold Palmer with alcohol in it?
John Daly.
Daly. That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, it's a John Daly. A John Daly is an Arnold Palmer with vodka in it.
Perfect. All right, that's good to know. I honestly had no clue, but I'm glad it was so quickly known.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, door_disc_golf, night_owl_pod. Now, those are our Instagram handles. And then doordisc.com, where you can find all of your disc golf needs. And we got a lot of stuff on there and more stuff coming. And we'll get to the shop updates at the very end of this podcast. So if you stick around and listen, we'll tell you what we got coming in new. And we got some good stuff coming in new that people are going to want. They're going to be hot items. So, and then YouTube. So Door Disc Golf on YouTube. You can catch us there. So be one of our first 50, or actually we're at 49 right now, right? So
we crossed 50.
We did?
Yeah, we're over 50.
Yeah, 51 I think is what I last saw.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
We're only 9,950 people behind Nick and Matro.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So when did the checks start rolling in for our 50 subscribers?
I think we have to get to 1,000.
I mean, we were doing a lot better than our buddies at Foundation were yesterday when they got hacked.
Oh, they did.
They got hacked and lost all of their videos, and it was a bad time for them. And then they were working through YouTube to get everything back. So it is back. Everything's back for those guys now. But it was
good for them.
They were hurting because they were also tweeting "Please stick with us. We don't know if we'll get our account back."
Oh my goodness, that would be a big hit for them, I'm sure.
And it sounded like all the contacts they have were out on the West Coast, so they had to wait a good couple hours before they could get to anybody to talk to.
So the guys that kind of do their big stuff in that regard is all West Coast. Oof.
Silicon
That would be
Valley.
rough. Yeah, that would be rough. So, All right, so let's talk about the power of positivity. What do you guys think?
I need all the vibes and positivity that I can get.
You guys don't have much to say about positivity, huh?
If you dream it, you can do it.
I mean,
so inspirational.
If you know, you know. It's been a wild 96 hours.
Yeah. So I'll just get into it. So the reason I bring up the power of positivity is because we just had our very first B tier, which Ben and I did, and I give all credit to Ben, but phenomenal event, did everything as it should have been, made a choice that people weren't happy with, completely 100% legal, but man, people got really, really angry. After everything was communicated, now everybody's fine and dandy. But there was about a 48 hour where it was just like complete bashing and just negativity about what had just happened. And keeping in mind that it was the very first B tier ever in Green Bay. And merit, no merit, we won't get into that, or we won't talk about the people. But I was thinking, if all of that stuff would have been handled in a positive way, man, it would have been so nice. Because you think about when you come into communities that are lacking or underserved, and you always want to look for that positive mindset and that positive outlook. So like, this is going to be a good thing, this is going to work out really well. And for the community, like if I were sitting in a community and someone came into my community and said, hey, we're going to start doing this, I'd be like, man, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be fantastic, what can I do to support you? Right? That's what you hope is going to happen. So I don't know if it was quite received that way. I would say probably not by a handful of individuals. But, I think disc golf has a tendency to be very protective over what is, and not making excuses, but I think that's what ended up happening. There was this idea that something should have been ran a certain way, and it didn't meet that expectation, so it wasn't worth it. And the people involved with it were doing something nefarious. And I think about how I hear that time and time and time again in disc golf. And I think if the positivity that goes into the game we love and how we play it, if that was just that grace was given to someone trying to accomplish something, I think everything would be so much smoother. We talked about Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze just did a couple things where we discussed like, do we like it or do we not like what he's doing now with kind of the pushing those hot button topics. But I think he's hitting a good point about the positivity there. Like he wants to, like, why not support him? Why not give him some good? And I think that's the whole thing that we're kind of talking about here is the power of positivity is an amazing thing. Give people a chance to do the right thing. Don't just assume they're doing the wrong thing.
I'll take it a step further. I think it was just that in disc golf in general, and then with this event, I think that there's just become like things that have become like status quo or the norm, or like this is how like these things are supposed to be run because they just have been, or like this is what it is. And then anytime somebody does something maybe a little different, or they try and maybe push for whether that's positive change or just change in general, or you just do something a little different, then you just kind of ruffle some feathers. But then it's again with that positivity of like how like you should focus on figuring out like, okay, like let's break this down for a second. What is the difference, or what is being done differently now? Like, it is it bad, or do I just not like it? Right? Like that's so kind of taking that mindset.
Right. And I think there's something very constructive about hearing from individuals and the differences and the things they don't like. I think we can all learn from that type of stuff. And I think that's, Ben, you and I, we sat down and we had plenty of conversations, probably conversations to nausea, where we're trying to figure out what would have been best approach and what's going to be best approach for the future. Right. But I think it could have been done a lot less stressfully. I guess if that's the appropriate word to use. but I think it could have been handled a lot less, or with a lot less stress, if
I think
it was brought into us constructively.
Yeah, that was just kind of my one thing, and not to like keep grinding any axes, but I think it was just not a lot of constructive feedback that was coming in from the feedback that was coming in, and not a lot of people just approached me directly, and I would be more than willing to like, you know, break it down for people if they wanted to hear what I had to say, or I could explain a lot of the decision making and the rationale, but it just never happened. So like that was a little frustrating to me. Like I'm an open book to an extent, right? Like as far as like I'll just kind of let you know kind of where things are at. Like I'm not shutting anything off. We could have had a conversation. But then because of all the way that these things are happening, like the stress came because it felt like we were under kind of a time crunch to rectify some things, so we had to move rather quickly. But like I said, I think that all just stems from the fact of like I'm all for constructive criticism and having a conversation, but like let's not just hide behind I mean this is just a life lesson in general. Like let's not just hide behind keyboards and make Facebook posts and shoot off messages to other people that aren't involved. Like let's have direct conversation and dialogue.
Yeah, and I think that's where that positivity comes, and since there's been some of the individuals that we or I have had conversations with that has said, hey, I apologize for approaching it the way that I did, and I'll be better next time. So I think there's some merit in that, but just keep in mind when people are trying to do something nice, like we're not going to get it right all the time. We understand that, and to come to us to help us be better and help the tournament be better and help the community be better, doing it in a positive, constructive way is the most effective way, because a lot of times it's hard to decipher between the garbage and between the constructive stuff that we can actually make a difference in, when it comes across as an attack that way. So, but with that being said, let's get a little more positive into things. Talking about positivity, let's talk about the positive moves we made in people's bank accounts by buying something, and whether it's a thrower, hanger, or flipper. How'd you like that one?
Way to turn it around.
All right, JP, let me hear it. I know you bought some stuff.
I did buy some stuff. Okay. We like put that Bodanza video in our group text the other day, and so I ended up buying a couple of the remix discs. I bought a starter pack, and then I bought a Rumble, and what was the other one? Oh, Glow. I think it was a Spartan. And so I don't know any of the names. I think the plastic is called Sport Plastic, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's the Glow Plastic, and I don't know what the baseline plastic is called, which would be like for the Juggernaut, which is the putter.
I thought they just called it base plastic.
Maybe they did.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. So it's really strange because you can buy it on Amazon for $11 a disc, and then Glow is $12. And it's all premium plastic except for the baseline disc, which is super awesome. The starter set's $30, and it feels really great. I was on Reddit, and there's a post there, and it basically outlined what discs are comparable to like the mint discs, TSA discs, and then it didn't get into a plastic breakdown, but I noticed there's one of them is definitely like a sublime plastic from mint, or like a plasma plastic. It's got like kind of that burst and feels really good. It's really grippy. Then their sport plastic would be equivalent to like Proton or Eternal plastic. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to try them out. They don't say they're PDGA approved on the discs, but I've heard that they are PDGA approved because I've seen them pop up on the website. So I know it's interesting, but
I think that's a very interesting. I want to see long term, because in the video it kind of alludes to the fact that these plastics are hitting an expiration date. And I know that there are some in petroleum products that there are some fatigue points through time and wear that they'll hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if these things are going to be closer to that expiration point of these petroleum products they're using.
Very well could be. I mean, for premium discs, they feel good, but I don't know, like you saying, like the last of the discs. Like, and the other thing too that was kind of alluded to is that maybe they were prototypes that didn't necessarily pan out for, discs. So a little bit different flight than like counterparts from the other companies that they're made, but still closely relatable. And I think if you're somebody who's looking to get into disc golf and you just want to play casually, it's a great route to go because you're getting premium plastic discs for, starter set prices. And even some of those starter set numbers are, like Mint's Royal plastic. Yeah, I think it's like $11 or $12 for Royal plastic, which is their base plastic. And then you get up into the $15, $16, dollar range for getting into the premium plastics. So I don't know, it's a good way to go. And then, you can kind of decide based off that what you want to get into.
No, I like it. And I think the only other way is to go for Matt Unis's used pile that he dropped off his absolute haul.
He beat me. He's dethroned me in terms of used plastic coming through Door Disc Store.
Hey, not to let you know on anything else, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but regardless, what I'm trying to say is he still has like 100 discs left that he was like still gonna go through to bring to the shop. And he's like, I didn't want to overwhelm him. I think that's what he said. He's like still had more discs that he could get. Yeah. He'll let me know when he listens to this. He'll shoot me a text and say,
yeah.
But I know
he's Matt to the point where he's just like looking for hold on to backups. That's all he wants. He's just backups to whatever he's throwing.
That's kind of what he said to me.
Yeah, he's got backups, and then he's got a pile of discs that he's just like, I'll just give these to my friends because I know that they throw them, and I'm never going to throw this disc. So he's like, I got some Lone Star for you. So here, you can have it next time I see you.
Oh, there's even some in the box because when we pulled up, he was like, "Man, are you gonna have room to take my stuff back?" And it was still like the entire back seat of the van that was available. And I'm like, "How many discs did you bring?" It filled up the back seat. It was like you think of those portable air conditioning boxes. It was one of those completely filled with them. Like I was impressed. So good job, Matt. You're gonna have to trade in a lot more JP to catch up to him.
Yeah.
So that's good. So, Ben, thrower hanger flipper, what'd you get, man?
Nothing.
No.
Right.
You didn't hold on to any of the Clash discs?
I mean, I bought a cookie a long time ago, so that's what I've got. But no, everything went right back into the Door Disc inventory.
They're on Door Disc.
Oh, I guess I did get something. I saved. I didn't tell Shane, but I just did. I just stole one of the Clash of the Creek minis from the players pack. So sorry. I thieved one for myself for my own archives.
Did you pull one for Ashley?
I did. Yep.
Good. All right.
Yep. So Ashley, for context, Ashley is one of my best friends, and she's a graphic designer in Denver. So we work together on all of like the stamps for tournaments and stuff that we've done. So I sent her kind of an overall idea, and then she just refines it because that's what she went to school for, and she's so much better than I did. So if you see the Clash of the Creek logo anywhere on the internet, that was her and I.
Very nice. So the only thing that I bought, the only two things I bought were two caches. I bought, what were they? Alpha caches, I believe. So I bought, and those are Hooligan discs, Alpha plastic, and they were the cache. So I was able to throw Ben's. Yours is a Delta.
Yeah, it's a soft. They call it but it's like the D1.
Okay. So I threw Ben's soft, and I was like, man, I really like this. And because it was very similar and familiar, like kind of a tactic-ish. But it was a bit shallower and it kind of fit my hand a bit better, kind of had a bit of a micro bead on it. It kind of is why I felt. And I was like, man, I really like this. And it had some stability to it. So just kind of little short up shots. We'll see once I actually put some power behind it, once I start throwing a bit more, or get them. But I did get the shipping notification today or yesterday. So they should be here tomorrow. So
I have my Benny out in the car. If you want to see it, you might want to buy it.
I do want to see that. I do want to see that a lot because it's a Judge, right?
Very close, yeah.
Very close. All right, good. Yeah, I do want to see that. So, all right, well, let's get into it. I'll give you the preview here real quick. We're going to talk about Jomez and the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We're going to talk, or DGN, excuse me. We're going to talk about live coverage. We're going to talk merch. We're going to talk James Conrad, and then we'll get into our shop updates. And if there's anything else we want to throw in there, we will. But those are the things you can expect that we will for sure get to. JP, you have anything you want to add? I never asked you before we started the show.
Oh, no. I mean, Ben was just talking about Lone Star for a second. And if anybody is interested, I guess they have reopened submissions to the team, and they're taking them till almost the end of the month. I think the 28th of May is what I had seen.
There you go.
So they're looking to expand upon their already large army.
Perfect. Marketing army is what it is. They're doing a good job. All right, I got to turn my watch down, and then we'll get into, start talking Jomez and Disc Golf Pro Tour. Who knows the most about it, other than the fact that the Disc Golf Network has made an acquisition, and that acquisition was Jomez Pro. And with that, what are the speculations? Because we've heard from two different podcasts already, which is Ulti World, Charlie Heisenhood, and Smashbox. They both had conversations about it, and no real big details have come out, like as far as price and why. I mean, a little bit of why, but real reason. So I really want to just speculate and make some stuff up, and maybe we're right, maybe we're not, but I want to hear fan fiction about it.
My fan fiction is that Jomez is poor and they couldn't afford to pay their $250,000 debts over the next 2 years to the Pro Tour. So the Pro Tour basically went into like car repossession mode and was like, you're mine now.
All right. I was like, we can't live without this next day coverage, so we're going to buy you and make sure you keep going. So kind of a charity case almost?
No, I just think that they were like, you owe us money because you owe us $250,000. The Pro Tour was like, you owe us $250,000. And they were like, we can't pay that. And they're like, okay, well, then here are your options. Either we buy you or no next day coverage for you. We will strip you of your media rights.
So is this like Stewie Griffin and Brian when Brian owed him money?
Yes.
Okay. So like chasing around with a bat. Where's my money, Brian? Where's my money?
Jeff Spring is just banging a bat in his hand while he sees Jonathan Gomez walking up during a practice round. He's just standing on the 18th green.
Just giving him I'm watching you, man.
He's got his Cash App. He's just checking it to see if the money's coming in anytime soon. He's like waving his phone at him like, you owe me. Yeah.
He just walks up to him like, hey, Jonathan, I've been refreshing this Cash App, and for some reason it's not going up. Do you just have connection issues like our live broadcast or what?
Do you need to rescan the QR code?
Yeah, so ultimately, after all fun and games are said, I think it's a fantastic thing. I don't know the reasons why it happened. I mean, I think logically, you can probably look at the fact that Jomez probably overextended themselves a little bit because of the increase in Patreon. They had a fantastic Patreon. From what I understand, Patreon has fallen off by 30 to 40%. And that's a huge hit for them. And then they took on FPO coverage. And like it or not, FPO coverage, I would assume just doesn't make the same money as far as views go as the MPO coverage. And MPO coverage has also dropped off slightly, not by a lot. But you take all of those hits plus the burden of the debt that is trying to get these, the burden of the debt that is what they need to pay for the MPO, FPO, and And I really think it just ends up being one of those things where operationally it didn't make sense for them to try to continue to do what they were doing for no money. With the increase in staff size, the increase in cameras, the increase in all these things, so serviceable debts that they have, they had to be bailed out in some way, shape, or form, I'm assuming. Or it was just one of those things where DGN said, hey, we want all this under one umbrella. We want to buy you out. And they gave them a number they couldn't refuse.
Yeah, Jeff Spring kept saying he talked about it as an acquisition, but they're like, well, it's a partnership. We allowed them to have media rights with us, and we feel like they can bring, whatever to the table. But Jonathan also went in to say that, yeah, you brought it up, the Patreon had fallen off by 40%. So that's a pretty good chunk. The women's game was brought on, and then it costs extra money to run the putting games, the practice rounds. That's extra time out on the course, extra cameras, extra couple people, to get media out there. And then I'm not a Patreon of theirs, but I don't know what kind of extra content they're putting on their Patreon page, if they're just like releasing stuff early, if there's actually extra videos or what there is, but all that adds up slowly but surely. And I think, like you alluded to before too, is maybe they did overextend themselves. Maybe they thought at the time 250,000 per year, was a deal at the time, and that they're like, okay, we're making this much, we can afford that. And now at the, hindsight's like, well, maybe 200,000 was a little, or, whatever the equivalent would be now. It's like, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Disc Golf Network has cannibalized the audience for next day coverage because you're doing live, and live is becoming better and better. With a caveat we'll talk about in just a couple seconds, but live is becoming better and better, more consistent, and it is at every tournament. So, and you can go back and watch live coverage on DGN as a subscriber. So, and they're just making you pay for Sunday now, right? So basically,
you get first round free, and then after that you have to. It's
and then you pay for the rest.
Yeah,
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. So so you're kind of cannibalizing that population, and if you're going to pay for Jomez or DGN, and you can only afford one of them, there's much more on DGN than there. Well, I wouldn't say much more, but there's more on DGN than there is on, as far as just raw disc golf coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what you're into and not these productions, I can understand why they're losing grip on a certain market.
That is a question that came up in the Smashbox interview when I was listening to it today about what's going to happen with all the Jomez Patreon subscribers. And they alluded to that they're going to get a discount on Disc Golf Network if they aren't already subscribed. There is going to be special giveaways, special merch associated with DGN and Jomez that they're going to have access to that nobody else is going to have. So there's still going to be things for those Jomez Patreon subscribers. And yeah, so I think that's decent. Kind of wonder, if Jomez ever decided before this acquisition, if they ever decide to go towards the pay to watch, if it would be profitable for them.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm a Patreon of Jomez, and it says, we are pleased to announce that the partnership with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, this is going to bring us and our fans more opportunities while still bringing you the post-produced tournament coverage you love. You can learn more about this, and then it just basically lists. So enjoy a 10% discount on jomezpro.com, 10% discount on DGPT.com. Enjoy 50% discount to the Disc Golf Network, access to an exclusive monthly giveaway, receive access to an exclusive monthly merch drop, and then redeem your 50% off of the benefits of Disc Golf Network, and just give you some links and stuff. So we appreciate your support, and we can't put into words how thrilled we are to remain dedicated to bringing you the best disc golf content. Jonathan Gomez and the Gomez crew, or in the Jomez Pro crew. So there you go.
My theory, my legit theory, not that Jomez is poor, but my legit theory is that the Disc Golf Pro Tour wanted to purchase them ultimately for the special projects and the non-coverage related department. We'll call it a department. Corey Merle's a one-man shop, and the stuff that he has been doing for the Disc Golf Network, it's not that he's a one-man shop, but like he's like the creative arm behind kind of these, like the on tour and kind of all this other stuff. With what he could do with the Jomez guys will be super incredible, I think. And I think like with all the added content, you know, we talked about putting game, Jomez, like all these other pieces to the puzzle beyond disc golf. I think when you, I think that ultimately is what Disc Golf Pro Tour was purchasing the brand for, acquiring the brand for, was for all these things that seem to be lacking. Because when you scroll through the Disc Golf Network, of what's out there, like when you click browse, it's just all coverage, and then it's just podcasts, and then the series that Corey's produced. So I think ultimately that's why they purchased it. And then I think that my hot take of the day is that I think in 5 years, Jomez, that's all Jomez will be. I don't think we will see next day coverage. I think it's just you might get it on YouTube like weeks later, but I don't think that that's going to even be the focus of Jomez. I think it's just you're just going to get you're not going to get like post produced really much of anything.
Well, the tangible, scalable thing that you can get out of a merger like that is the fact that DGN's focus is now Jomez's focus, and DGN's focus is to bring everything, or Disc Golf Pro Tour is to bring everything under one umbrella. And by purchasing Jomez, now the focus of Jomez changes to what the focus of Disc Golf Pro Tour is. So, and the Disc Golf Pro Tour has been very vocal about bringing it all under one umbrella and making it a pay. So that's the way I see it going.
Yeah, I could see that. And then here, the other thing too is when DGN on YouTube drops their like supposedly next day coverage, it's the full 4 hours. So I don't know. That's kind of a lot to watch and sit for next day coverage, unless you want to, unless you haven't seen it, you know. But you're already paying for it, so you might as well just watch it on DGN. Who cares about YouTube? I'm wondering technically if they're adding all these cameras, how much infrastructure they're going to have to beef up if they're really using them for live, and what that's going to cost DGN and the DGPT, because that's a lot of extra manpower and a lot of extra boost, you know, to try to get everything working under one roof. So I don't know what we're going to see as far as signal boosting or whatever, but it's going to take a lot.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I mean, those cell phone towers, those portable cell phone towers sure would be a nice investment at this point, you know, for some of these courses that we're just not getting coverage in. But those things are lots and lots and lots of money. And you also have to have a provider that has the coverage in that area in the first place. So,
you know who I think's the happiest about this deal? Sean Jack, the vice president of Disc Golf Pro Tour, because he's the vice president of partnerships and sponsorship. So now he can go into any sponsorship pitch meeting and say that he just added 12 million views. Like to everything to start to pitch to people.
Well, 12 million views and what, another 250,000 subscribers or something like that. I forgot what Jomez is up to.
Yeah.
Now. But
so like if you're Sean Jack, your day just gets so much better, because you know, not to that extent, but I did some of these pitch books for the tournament, as far as like, here's what you get, here's what you got to pay us for, here's like how many people will see these things. So like having those tangible items for him, or those tangible numbers, is going to be so much better for him piecing together especially trying to get some of these big time sponsors like the Johnsonvilles and the Barbasols.
Yep.
Yeah, the only person that has more views per video for this year is Simon compared to Jomez Pro.
Really?
Yeah. He's averaging close to 200,000, and Jomez Pro right now, it looks like, is just under 100,000.
Jeez. Where's Brodog at?
Brody is sitting 4th, and he is just over, He's probably like 60,000 views a video.
Okay.
And I mean, that's not foundation or foundation podcasts or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty wild. But Jomez outdoes Disc Golf Pro Tour. Disc Golf Pro Tour right now is sitting at just over 5 million views. And yeah, they're close to 12.5 million views.
Yeah, the Disc Golf Pro Tour's YouTube channel is lame.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a recap of
it. Yeah. But I think of all the fun stuff that what Jomez does. Like they have the sweet hole previews, they have the Slomez, they have follow flight. If they can incorporate that into like, if you can get an instant replay with a follow flight, if they can incorporate that somehow where you can see the disc fly, that'd be great. Same thing with the hole previews before the holes, the announcers can talk about, because there's really not much of that going on right now either. Like there's just so many things that Jomez has that they can bring or incorporate into the live coverage that would just up it exponentially.
I wonder if there is a possibility. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That means, well, Yuli would have to. Maybe
they're contracted through Jomez, and they have to be contracted through DGPT. But at the end of the day, they want to play first, I think, more than they want to be commentating. I don't know.
You think Yuli wants to? I mean, he's been taking an active step back. I mean, I know he likes playing, but he's been taking an active step back.
And he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's got a leadership foundation that don't know exactly what it does, but other than provides the foundation for leadership.
I think it's more coaching, actually. Is what
the leadership foundation of leadership.
Yeah.
I don't know. His is like the only foundation that I don't know that what they actually do. Macbeth Foundation, courses in other countries. Wysocki Foundation, disc golf in schools. Don't know what Yuli's is. So if somebody knows, please let me know and drop it in the comments.
The Leadership Foundation is very deceiving, but basically what it does is it allows disc golf to be used as a way to go to the next level as far as education goes. So like a scholarship to play or something like that, that's where the Yuli or the Leadership Foundation comes in. I know that's one part of it. I don't know if it covers any more, but I know that's one part of it. So, all right, let's jump over to live coverage. So we talk about live coverage, and Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze is going to hate us for talking about this, but man, live coverage sucked. And there's no way around it. It sucked for
Champions Cup.
For Champions Cup, it sucked. Like Jonesboro, the little bit that I watched seemed just fine, no issues whatsoever. But the live coverage for Champions Cup sucked, and I know we're well past that, but I think it bars bringing up, because I think we're seeing the Disc Golf Pro Tour trying to solve issues that probably aren't their most important issues to try to solve. I mean, I think live coverage is one of those things. And yes, we all know that DVDs used to be the way to watch, and it would take months to come out. Or tapes. I mean, for Pete's sake, like way back in the day. But that's not where we're at right now. Like we have to be current with time. So we have to understand that there is a certain expectation that is held by people, whether it's reasonable or not reasonable, but by the viewership, there's a certain expectation of live coverage. And man, it sucked. It was bad.
The devil's advocate in me says that this is a PDGA event, and they were just broadcasting, and they did not actively choose to go to this venue. That's the devil's advocate in me. But
very well.
But the same caveat to that, we experience the same situation when we go to Ledgestone, and the Disc Golf Pro Tour actively chooses to go there. So, you take that with a grain of salt. But yes, it was not great.
No, it was not great at all. Can I point out that this gray hair that's growing on my upper lip looks like a booger all the time? Okay, JP, you can go ahead now.
I mean, that's a good reason to acquire Jomez right there. Not having, so you can have that. If your coverage sucks, you have that next day coverage that you can kind of use to cover that up.
Right.
That's the That's the Band-Aid just to put over.
And I guess going forward, like coverage is going to suck every once in a while. I mean, it happens, and at disc golf with the money that's in it, and I don't know if there's any way that we're going to see coverage get consistent from every course that we play until there's more money in the sport. With that being said, if the same thing happens year after year at the same courses and they continue to allow that same thing to happen year after year, that's when it becomes a problem. So if next year it improves and they do something different, I don't have any qualms with it. But if they return again for the third year in a row and have the same issues, that's on them 100%. Because they're the ones ultimately covering it.
Mm-hmm.
So that
I feel
is
like they got to give them an ultimatum. It's either we come to you and you fix it, or you have this amount of time to see if we can do it in the next couple of years, or we're taking you off as a, whatever, or we're just not going to cover the event. It's still going to be the event, but we're just not going to cover it. That's just the way it's got to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to say though, that's like your dad, like you're saying that to your dad because they're ultimately the company that you answer to.
It is.
If it wasn't for the PDGA, what would they have to cover?
Hey,
I mean, there would be something else out there, but
you know who's readily available to cover a Champions Cup? That crew from Big Money Skins. They could do it.
Yes. I think that is.
I think they're looking for a job.
At least they had coverage. I mean, it didn't just completely blank out, so that was good.
Yeah, and we can bring back Man on the Slab guy.
I kind of liked that guy. I'm like becoming more and more enjoying
He's a meme at this point.
Yeah, the history that he brings with the game now. So, all right. Anything else to say about live coverage? If not, we'll get into some guttural cries. All right. How do you feel about Kat Mertsch and her emotional moment after winning? Jonesboro. Spoiler alert.
There's no spoilers in live sports.
Okay, good.
JP, you can go ahead if you got some.
I'm fine with it. I mean, after years of, I don't want to say falling short, but I think anytime you get your first win at something, you just have that emotional high, and she's somebody that has raw emotion and is genuinely herself 100% of the time. Like you may see her be goofy, whatever. She's gonna give you her, and that's what she had at that moment. It was cool to see, all her friends, understand, run up, hug her, embrace her, then her mom, and then her niece, who she gave the trophy to. I mean, it was a big moment, and she won it in her home state. She said, she said, it wasn't that big deal being there, but it kind of is, that kind of played into it a little bit, being home. So super cool to see her finally get triumph, and hopefully she builds on this. She's always been so close, and it was cool to see it go down to a playoff with Haley,
Right. Yeah, especially our local hero a bit. So, what about you, Ben? How'd you feel?
Ditto. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I think JP hit it on the head there. Kat's been banging on the door for so long that it was just a matter of time for her until the door fell down and she sprinted through it. Right? That's really, I couldn't. Yeah, just echoing exactly what JP said. Pretty cool for her to finally get there.
I did hear some people, or read some keyboard warriors say, "Oh, act like you've been there before," but you hadn't been there before. Yes, you've probably won an A tier and some B tiers and stuff, but this is the biggest win of your life, and you want to celebrate it. Get the champagne out,
For sure, probably just her biggest paycheck too, her biggest purse.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because I saw some comments out there where people are kind of hating on it, oh, why would she act like that? And I don't see any difference between USDGC Paul and Kat Mertsch. they both had a ton of emotion at that point, and that's how it came out. And Paul Macbeth was known as a boss for doing what he did. We're yelling at the sky, and like kind of like it's a pretty cool picture where he's like fists are clenched and he's just kind of let's go, and he's yelling up at the sky. And then Kat Mertsch kind of bent over and screaming, but for some reason that's wrong. Like, I just don't understand that concept. However anybody celebrates aside from like Spartan kicking somebody, like, go for it, man. Like, it's awesome. Although Spartan kicking would be pretty cool too, though. Can you imagine that if you just ran up and like Spartan kicked Haley? Just runs up and just like straight to the chest.
Down the hill she tumbles.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I know it was a playoff, so it's different, but like Kat getting to tap in last is always the champion should always tap in last, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, like on the FPO side, it doesn't happen that often. Like no one like on the men's side, like when Calvin tapped in, or when he was tapped in to win, like, yes, he was out. Like, he was still technically out, and he should have, tapped in. But, like, so, like, that happens on the MPO side pretty much every event that I've seen as of late. But, like, on the FPO side, they're still following the order.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. Just a thought I had that popped into my brain.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of strange, but I don't know what the difference is. I mean, maybe... I don't know. Because in reality, women haven't been getting the same coverage for as long as the men. So, and that mentality, or that tap out mentality, is really only used for live coverage. I mean, you don't see that happening at our local C tiers or things like that, because you're allowing the crowd and the coverage to get involved in what's happening there. And I think maybe that's just a mindset that the FPO hasn't come to yet because of the lack of exposure that they've had in the past. Maybe, I don't know, just a thought. So, because really coverage has been hit or miss aside from the last 3 years for FPO. Sometimes we had it, sometimes we didn't before that. So maybe that's what it is. But good thought, Ben. I never even thought about that. But still no Spartan kicks. So maybe those will come later. Maybe that's what the full contact disc golf, JP.
Ooh.
That should be added.
You just kick your opponent down. Second place. Boom.
No, the winner gets to Spartan kick the second place guy.
Down the podium.
I like it. Yeah. This is my tournament. All right. James Conrad, 1,100 rated rounds, 17 under at Jones-Boro. Let's talk about that. There was a lot of hate going around about this. And not about the round, but about the rating. Let's hear this. Everybody always has strong opinions about ratings.
I think the biggest like heat, or like the biggest thing that like I saw was like, it wasn't that like James threw an 1,100 rated round. It was just like that they were just comparing other 1,100 rated rounds, and they were like, yeah, this is a joke. And the one that they brought up was like nothing against Adam Hammis, because like he did what he needed to do at Memorial. He put together a very good round, but they were just like, yeah, this is why ratings are a joke, because these two rounds are not built the same. Like Calvin Heimberg literally tweeted, well, the only thing James Conrad didn't do today was throw in an envy from 200 feet. We'll look forward to seeing you on the lead card tomorrow. Like, so, like, yeah, ratings are a joke, because those two rounds are not built the same by any means. Jones-Boro is tough from what we've seen in the past and what we know. So for somebody to pop off with that is like head and shoulders so much different. So Chuck Kennedy, if you're listening, maybe give us your secrets as to why, because he invented the rating system and won't tell anybody about it.
Any feelings, JP?
It's all about that OB, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's the kicker at
the
Memorial.
Spartan kicker.
Yeah, the Spartan kicker. I mean, I guess we have ratings as measuring sticks at courses to say, okay, this is how well you're playing. and but obviously all courses are different. So it's like, yeah, all ratings aren't the same at all these courses that we're playing. Like, yes, both are 1100 rating, but James Conrad's definitely seems like it's a little more. It's not that it's unattainable. I'm trying to think of a word to use.
It's harder. You put
It is
Adam Hannes
improbable
in the same situation, the likelihood of him getting it is less.
Yeah, that's what I would say. So, I mean, hats off to James Conrad. I think that's the second coolest thing he's ever done.
Well, he grew the hair, so
yeah, right.
So I mean, there's maybe the third coolest thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
No, it was an amazing round. You know, you got to watch those little recaps of just basically his shots, and you know, it sucks that he was one off of a perfect round. But as far as ratings go, you know, I can see a merit behind a rating system that takes into account all factors evenly and equally. So there's a base score and you go from there. But how do you do that? Because you got to account for weather, you got to account for ground conditions, you got to account for tee pads, you got to account for, you know, the field of play. You got there's so many different things, the time of year, the elevation, so that's why I think these rating systems have merit currently for amateurs just as a guide. I think outside of that, I don't know if they should exist for pros. I really don't, because I don't think it truly matters. Once you get to a certain level, like it's a good guide for amateurs to figure out who's the group that I can play with. And I think for that, they do a very good job. But outside of that, I don't know if they hold any weight anymore. That's just my thought. So for James Conrad, amazing round. And it may as well be a 1200 rated round. It doesn't matter because it was fantastic. So good job, 17 under on Jones-Boro, beating the past record by 4 strokes. If I recall rightly, it was a 13 under that was set by Heimberg 2 years prior, if I remember rightly. So great job. But it's good to see him do something too, because you know it seemed like he hit that 240-foot throw in or 270-foot throw, whatever it was, to win Worlds or to push him to win Worlds, and then you just didn't hear anything else from him. And now he runs a 17 under, so you get to see him back on the top and show that he has these glimpses of fire. So good for him.
Absolutely.
All right. Benjamin.
Yes.
Is it weird that I called you Benjamin?
No, it's my government name.
It's the government. All right. Give us a random question. It's your turn.
What's a movie that was really hyped up by one of your like friends or family members, and then you sat down and watched it, and you're like, "Man, this is trash." Could be a show too.
I know JP and I are going to have the same answer, and it's White Chicks. But we won't use that one. Do you want to go first, JP?
I'm trying to think. I have in my mind a movie, and I'm trying to remember what it is.
I have one.
Okay.
American Psycho. Everybody loved it. Won so many awards. I walked out of the movie theater. I thought it was that bad. I hated that movie. And I know people love that movie. I hated that movie. Like with a passion, hated that movie. Actually, I lie. I don't have that much contempt for it, but it was really bad. I mean, everybody talks so highly of it. It was probably one of the least enjoyable movies I've ever watched. That's it. Have you guys either watched that?
Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't hate it. I mean, it's not like my favorite, but like the thing with American Psycho too is like you gotta be like, you don't just wake up one day and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna watch American Psycho. Like you're just like, you gotta be in the right headspace, and you gotta be in like the right mood to sit down and be like, we'll watch this movie.
Yeah, maybe it was the case, but every time I see it and I see it's like award winning and like has all these accolades, I'm like, what? So, all right. What about you, JP?
Avatar. easily the most hyped movie ever.
That was
just
also
fell
mine,
flat to me.
by the way.
Yeah,
The first
I don't
one?
get. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the hype behind Avatar at all.
It was really good.
I think the idea and the technology that it used when it came out was super like ahead of its time, but the story for me was just like, meh. I don't care about Fern Gully for adults. That's the way I've always
I had
heard it.
I had a friend
That's
in
exactly
college.
what it is.
I had a friend in college who also wrote a paper comparing it to colonial imperialism. The white man has gone to another country and has colonized it.
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Well,
So when you think about it now, the white man.
They're stepping on those Smurfs, right? It's
yes.
And it's incredible how it is not a new concept as far as the movie goes. I mean, it might be placed on a different planet, but it is the same as every other movie.
Yeah,
and
it's
James
the
Cameron
foreign other
getting...
that falls in love with the native of whatever land.
Yeah.
And Jim Cameron taking 9 years to make a movie.
So bad. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But you're right. I mean, it is very basic in what it is, but it's fun. You know, it's kind of like but I'm an anime watcher too. And like, there's not a difference between 90% of the animes out there either. So I guess I just find the joy in it.
What else did I hear talking about this? People were bashing Harry Potter because J.K. Rowling wrote Star Wars.
It is Star Wars with worse lightsabers.
But everybody's like, it's like, was the trope is like the hero story. You know, you have the young person who like grows up and
without parents.
Yeah, like that kind of right. And then overcomes the big villain. Like that's.
And then he befriends a male and a female, and he will come to find that he can only love the female friend as in like a sibling way, but then the other two fall in love. Yeah. How about that?
And they have the big hairy sidekick too between Hagrid and Chewie. I mean, I like that. That's smart. So J.K. Rowling gets all this amazing stuff from George Lucas.
Yeah, she just wrote Star Wars, but with worse lightsabers.
I love that. We're offending so many people right now.
Bruce, I'm really sorry if this is the way you feel when you're listening to this. Bruce has told me on Saturday after the tournament that he is a very big Harry Potter fan, and I'm not knocking you being a Harry Potter fan. I'm just apologizing that you might either want to Spartan kick us, or you're just coming to the realization right now that Harry Potter is just Star Wars with bad lightsabers.
I like Harry Potter, so I am, but I've come to grips with that.
So what's one of the most underrated movies that for some reason nobody else likes, but you really like? I'll tell you the one that I have is Brendan Fraser in Monkey Bone.
Oh, have I seen that movie?
Oh,
I don't think I've seen it.
If you haven't, watch it tonight. It is fantastic. I know you're not going to like it, but I love it. Or Lars and the Real Girl. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
I've seen that one. Yeah, that's
another good one. Where did Ben go?
I'm presently so like I'm looking down, like next to me is just like the rack of DVDs, and now I'm just trying to like look and just be like, is there something that I have down there that like people... Oh yeah, okay, I got one. All right, The Virgin Suicides. That's like really that's my underrated pick.
Nice.
I gotta write that down.
It's got Kirsten Dunst in it. It's got Josh. I can't think of his name right now.
Josh Hamm. Oh,
huh?
That was Hamm.
No, Josh Hartnett.
Yep, Josh Hartnett. I knew it started with an H.
Yeah, it's an interesting story.
It's a good one. That's an underrated.
Yeah.
Sofia Coppola directed it. I watched it in school, in college. Kirsten Dunst when she was like just coming into the scene. Yeah.
Is it like kids style? Have you ever watched?
No,
Kids?
don't watch it with your kids.
No.
JP. No,
No, the movie Kids.
The movie Kids.
Okay.
Have you ever watched the movie Kids?
No, I haven't.
It's totally different than that.
Yeah.
Kids is an interesting movie.
Yeah, it is. Everybody gets AIDS.
Yep.
Oh.
Casper. Rosario Dawson's in that movie.
So
I have no legs.
Virgin Suicides is like about this family, but it's told from the perspective of like the teenage boys that live in the neighborhood. So
okay.
Giovanni Ribisi's in it. It's I'll just loan it to you, and you can just watch it. It's
I don't own a DVD player anymore.
Do you own a gaming console?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay, then yes, you own a DVD player.
I do. Touche.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I own other round things, and there are other round things coming into the shop. So, DD Dynamic Discs, we have some mini baskets coming in, but also some discs, and MVP restock is on the way. So we have, obviously the Simon Lizotte special editions are coming. We have a whole gaggle of glitches. We have some hexes coming in. And there's some other stuff too. The fireballs, the fission fireballs that are coming in. So there's some of those. And then we have Matt's horde of discs. And there's a lot of MVP in there. So that'll go onto the used site. As soon as we pick through them and tell them what we want to buy and what we don't, I'll put everything up on the site. So you probably see those within the next week or so. But with that being said, is there anything else that you two fine gentlemen have to say?
Be cool to one another. Pick up trash on your local course. If you got an issue with someone, let them know directly. That's what I got.
There you go. How about you, JP?
I don't have anything that cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to leave us with?
I'm just not a cool guy.
All right. You heard it here, folks. He's not a cool guy. And keep it.
I do pick up trash, though.
You do? Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, keep it subpar and big gulp say, well, see you later.